Hi everyone, my name is Jenna and I am currently a junior here at Eastern Michigan University. I'm here today to talk to you guys about some of the factors that I researched for my external factors report on Google Incorporated. This report was authorized by Dr. Linda Eisenhower, who is the professor of this class, and I want to thank her for her support and suggestions that helped form this report into what it is. I chose to research three different things for this report, and I chose lawsuits that have been filed against Google. I also chose excessive competition within the market, and lastly I chose security breaches. However, due to the time restraints of this oral presentation, I'm only going to be discussing the lawsuits and the competition. So, because Google is such a huge corporation, it has to deal with lawsuits ranging anywhere from copyright infringement to trademark infringement. And then it also has to deal with competition with big companies such as Apple and Microsoft. So when I was doing my research, the first lawsuit that I came across and I thought was pretty important was actually a lawsuit that started back in 2004. So Google decided that it was going to start a database online of books that it was going to scan and provide information for everyone across the globe, which is a really good idea because it could help people out with research and stuff like that. So to this date, Google has scanned more than 12 million books onto their online database. The problem started when individual authors from the books that they were scanning began filing copyright infringement lawsuits against Google. And they did this because Google did not ask for permission from one single author to scan these books. So people started filing lawsuits from 2004 on, but this lawsuit really reached a height in 2012 when a New York federal judge granted class action status to this lawsuit. What this means is that these authors are no longer going to have to individually file lawsuits, but that they're all going to be encompassed under one lawsuit and it'll be taken care of that way. When Google was questioned about this, they made a statement that they felt very confident that they were going to beat this lawsuit because they believe that they are covered by the fair use doctrine. And they also stated that although they scanned these books to put them online, that they actually only show small portions of it, and if people want to read the entire thing, they have to purchase it. So that's how they're trying to cover themselves. Another lawsuit that I found was filed by the language learning company Rosetta Stone, and they actually filed a trademark infringement. So the reason for them doing this was because they found out that Google was allowing ads to be posted on their website, Google's website, with the specific words Rosetta Stone, which is a trademark of that company. So they claimed that not only was this confusing their customers, but this was leading to customers purchasing counterfeit products that actually weren't produced by Rosetta Stone. So this in turn was hurting their company because consumers were receiving these counterfeit products and coming back and bashing the company, saying that they received the wrong product or that the product didn't work, and they were receiving bad reviews online, which is going to hurt the image of that company. So they initially filed the lawsuit in the state of Virginia, and the lower court of Virginia actually dismissed the lawsuit because they believed that there wasn't enough evidence. However, they decided to appeal this, and the Fourth Court of Appeals determined that the lower court of Virginia did make an error, and they decided to reinstate the lawsuit. When Google was questioned about this, they decided to make no statement. The second thing that I researched was competition. So Google is in the industry of technology, and technology is ever evolving. So they're constantly going to be working with other companies to try to come out with the newer and better products to win the hearts of us as consumers. So the first article that I found was about competition between Apple and Google. Now, I'm sure a lot of you in this room have iPhones, and that's great. iPhones are fantastic. However, until 2012, Apple really needed Google's support. So in 2012, Apple released their iOS 6 operating system. And the reason that this was such a benefit was because until then, Apple relied heavily on Google's map application to provide their consumers with turn-by-turn navigations. However, when they released this iOS 6 system, along with a huge number of new apps that came out, Apple came out with their own Maps application, which completely eliminated the need for Google on any of their Apple devices, iPhones, iPads, anything. So this was huge for Apple as a company. The second source of competition that I found was between Microsoft and Google. So both of those companies are quite large, but Microsoft, which a lot of people don't know, has their own search engine called Bing, while Google, everyone knows Google. By a show of hands, how many of you in here use Google as your preferred search engine? So a lot of you. Okay, and Microsoft is aware of that. They know that they're not the top search engine choice by people. So they decided that they were going to launch a series of television commercials to try to combat Google. And I'm not sure if any of you saw them, but they were a lot like a political commercial that we see during elections. The commercial will go on for a few minutes about why Google is bad and why you should use something else, and then at the very end it would say this commercial was supporting Bing and it was presented by Microsoft. So Microsoft does understand that they are not the leader in search engines, and so they weren't exactly trying to get people to convert, but they were trying to get people to consider using Bing, which is exactly what these commercials did. They took polls before and after, and the polls after suggested that more people were willing to consider using Bing. They also took some polls, and they were asking people if they would be willing to suggest Google to a friend. And they found out that this actually dropped by 10%, while the number of people that would suggest using Bing to friends increased by 7%. So because Google is such a big corporation, they make billions of dollars every year, there's always going to be people out there that are going to be filing lawsuits, anywhere from a single person who's unhappy with something that Google did, anywhere up to celebrities and famous people. So the issue is, because Google is so big and they have so much power behind them, a lot of times small lawsuits from like individual consumers like you and I are just going to get swept under the rug. Whereas bigger ones, they can usually do a pretty good job of covering up. Also, with competition in the industry of technology is huge. We as consumers are constantly demanding that these companies come out with bigger and better products to satisfy us and our needs. So while it stresses out the companies because they have to come out with stuff like that, it helps them because each time they release a new product, we are excited about it, us consumers are excited about it, so we rush out and buy it. And as soon as another company finds out that someone released something new, they come out with something new to combat that. So companies are all the time trying to compete against each other to see who can be the best and who people will love the most, and that's just the way that it goes. Thank you for listening today, and is there any questions? Okay, thank you.